lights. If you look at the dome behind home plate, you see that there's two panels that are a little bit darker than the rest. That was to cut down on the glare that was coming through there so those outfielders could see it, but then they had to go back up there and paint them again. So they put that's three coats of paint right there on those panels behind home plate and a coat of paint on the other ones, but the sun still came through, but it no longer was enough. And personally, I think, and maybe Bill has something to say on this too, I don't think they really ever intended to grow grass in the Astrodome. I think that the judge knew the grass wasn't going to grow in the Astrodome, but they put it down anyway to appease the purists for baseball. But he knew that if you were going to have this building as multi-purpose and you were going to make money doing other things, other events, show, and have rodeo, you were going to need to have field conversion. You were going to need to have a way to remove the baseball field without tearing up the grass. And I think he already knew. In fact, there's some magazines from 1965, a full year before they put AstroTurf in there, where they're already talking about the possibility of having turf. I don't know if you...
Well, we both have talked to Tal Smith extensively, and he was involved in the construction of it, and then wound up being involved with Monsanto development of AstroTurf was happening about that time. So it just, everything dovetailed, and then of course that was a trend-setting development because before you knew it, most stadiums had AstroTurf during that era.
Yeah. And this is an AstroTurf field. This is a 1968 All-Star game. I'm going to go just a little quicker through these. These are the astronauts that threw out the first pitch. You can see Neil Armstrong, the original Mercury 7 are in there. They all threw out the first pitch on April 12th, 1965. This is a pitch. This is the same photographer. This is the very first pitch on April 9th, 1965. So that's Mickey Mantle at home plate. You can see the zeros across the scoreboard up there. And it's coming in at 7:48 p.m. That's what I consider the birth of the Astrodome. You know, when you talk about a baby being born, April 9th, 1965 at 7:48. And it's another really nice color photo. He positioned himself in almost a perfect spot to get that scoreboard.
Is that Turk Farrell?
It is. Yeah, that was Turk Farrell. An early shot of Larry Durker and Danny Coombs, and Durker's been a lifelong Astro. Debut at 18 with the Colt 45s. First 20-game winner, a no-hitter for the Astros. He was a broadcaster. He worked in the front office. He was the manager of the Astros as well. Just a lifelong Astro. This is the 1969 pitching staff. There's Jimmy Wynn sliding into third base. And Jimmy is, of course, known for his power, but he was also a really good base runner as well. Just a real nice shot there. There's Doug Rader smoking a cigarette in the clubhouse. I like this, having drinks after. This is a night that they turned 7 double plays, and they tied a major league record. So you had Joe Morgan and Bob Lillis there, who the guys that were in on that. This is a great shot here with Ari Bob Smith on the far right, and there's George Kirksey up there on the far left. In the back, there's Al Spangler next to him, Gene Elston. Bill Giles, there's Dick Farrell up there. The Hal Woodishick down in the front, and Rusty Staub there. And the story behind this photo is Ari Bob Smith he used to love to exercise, and so they wanted to get in on the act and exercise with him, and they got a group shot here. And there's Bob Watson and Cesar Cedeno in the early 70s. The signature Astrodome scoreboard shooting off. Another shot of that after home runs and victories. There's the upper deck seat that Doug Rader hit. And then a week later, Jimmy Wynn hit one about 10 seats down in the same row. There's his that's painted. Those 2 seats are in our archives. We have them at Minute Maid Park. And then this is one of my favorite shots of the Astrodome. It's not a wide angle view or anything. It's just a real straight up daytime shot, just showing the field, the dirt paths in between the bases rather than the cutouts. It's an AstroTurf field, the signature charge on the scoreboard. You see Roy Hoffines' private apartment over in right field with all the windows, and it's a nice sellout crowd. Nolan Ryan, this is November 19th, 1979. The first $1 million player in baseball history. Jose Cruz, who rewrote all of Jimmy Wynn's original batting records. here in the early. This is about 1982. Nolan Ryan after his fifth no-hitter in 81. And this is another just kind of a great shot of just a player, just Phil Garner in the dugout in the early 80s. Mike Scott in the 1986 playoffs here. This is game one. And it's another unique shot behind home plate. This is called the Catfish Hole. I mentioned that the underground stream that ran underneath the Astrodome, the area behind home plate was nicknamed the Catfish Hole because of that. And the grounds crew guys would sit back there and just watch the game. So you could see how it looks in here and the playing field just beyond the net right there. Jeff Bagwell in his early years here. This is right after his rookie year. There's Willie Berry, who's been with the Astros for 44 years this year. He wore one of the spacesuits. He's manicured the pitcher's mound and home plate for years. Dennis Laborio, he was our equipment manager for 30 years. Boy, he saw a lot of stuff. And you want to talk with a guy, he grew up in Boston, and Yastrzemski was his favorite player when he was a little kid. In fact, he was a bat boy for the Boston Red Sox at one point. And he came over to Houston in the offseason in between 79 and 80. So, boy, he saw the arrival of Ryan and the 80 playoffs, the 86 playoffs, all the great players that came through Bagwell and Biggio's career. And he retired after 2010. Very, very well-respected equipment manager. This is the first playoff clinch in 1980. Joe Niekro had to pitch an extra game that year, game 163, to win the division for the first time in franchise history, 20-game winner. There's Mike Scott clinching the 86 NL West with a no-hitter against the San Francisco Giants. And Jim DeShays and Kevin Bass holding him up. Anybody knows Mark Berman from the Houston area? That's him in the white shirt over there. I always wanted to show him that picture. He's very young over there. Another shot in the Astros clubhouse. There's Larry Durker, Hal Lanier, Dick Wagner, and Milo Hamilton interviewing in the clubhouse after the game. And then in 97, when we saw a transition to another era, this was 11 years to the day that the Astros clinched that 86 division championship. They were now in the NL Central. And so it was Bagwell and Biggio going to the playoffs for the first times, and Mike Hampton, Bulldog. Yeah, this was they allowed the fans to run the field that night. Yeah, that was a mistake, but but Drayden McClain, the owner, said it was okay at that point. This is the 98. This is in the 98 season when the team won 102 games. That's currently a franchise record. We'll see what we do this year. But they had to wait. I think it was San Diego had to win. So our game was over. They were waiting in the clubhouse, and then they broke out the champagne as soon as the game I think it was San Diego, had to win. And then this is the last year in the Astrodome. We had 3 seasons back-to-back-to-back of NL Central titles. Jay Powell was the pitcher on the mound to get the last out, a swinging strikeout against the Dodgers. This is just a generic shot of the Astros clubhouse here in 1999. And then this is pretty much the same view. This is when the clubhouse was redone. This is in 1984. The original clubhouse was on a different level, but then they built this brand new modern clubhouse on level 1 at the Astrodome. You see the rainbow uniforms. This is now the first pitch at Enron Field by the same photographer. So there's Dwight Gooden pitching to Knobloch there with the Yankees, and see the zeros across the scoreboard. And I think Chuck Knobloch had a hit. I think he got a hit in that at bat. Bagwell got the first Astros hit at the ballpark. You can see some of the flash bulbs in the outfield at 7:04. There's the hill out there. He was, yeah. Yeah, his family's tied to Houston baseball. This is the wild card clinch in 2004. Some of the guys that led the 05 team, there's Bagwell and Biggio, now 2 Hall of Famers. And Ensberger was the MVP of the 2005 team. This is the first World Series appearance. This is the Game 1 on October 22nd of 2005. And I really like this because, Jeff Bagwell had played so many years in Houston, and this was really a tough season because he had the shoulder surgery. But he came back. He hit his final home run in May against the Cubs at home. And at that time, a lot of people didn't know that that was going to be his final home run because everybody was watching Greg Maddux and Roger Clemens pitch. They didn't, home run to the Crawford boxes for Bagwell didn't really seem like it was going to be that historical at that time, but that turned out to be his last home run. But here he is making his appearance in the World Series. This is the team lining up for the first World Series game played in Texas here on the 25th of October of 2005. Craig Biggio scored the first World Series run in Texas history that night. And then this is the same photographer again. So you have the opening of 3 stadiums, but then you also have the very first pitch to be the first World Series pitch thrown in the state of Texas here on October 25th at 7:39 p.m. It's Craig Biggio, his 3,000 hit here in 2007. And that is it. So we'll wait and see what we have for the remainder of this season.
Does anybody have a question? Okay, well, we will be outside at the table. Stop by and see us. And love to talk with you a little bit more.
You guys going up to Cooperstown for Bagwell?
I am. Are you going, Mike?
I won't be there, but yeah, I'll be here. Yeah. But we're doing plenty. We're going to have the plaque in Houston again. So if you come out to the game, you'll be able to take a picture with it, just like we did for Biggio.
When's that coming in?
That's going to be the weekend of August 5th.
Okay.
Yeah. It'll arrive on the 4th, and we'll have a ceremony for Bagwell on the game on the 5th, and then we'll have photos during the